Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and earlier this evening, Blizzard had a new build push to PTR for 10.2, and with it came even more Warlock changes. Now, for those Destro fans, there were, well, two buffs, sort of small ones. Might spawn a new build, we'll look at it in a little while, but Demonology was once again the main focus of these changes. Buffs to the tier set, some pretty big buffs to the tier set. Changes to Immutable Hatred, probably because of, like, the Fellstorm, like, on and off toggling thing that you have to do with it. Vile Fiend nerfs, and a few other along the way. So tonight, we're going to talk about those. Heads up, before we get too far in the video, I mentioned it last video as well, the 10.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet is indeed now live on Patreon if you guys want early access to that. At the tier 3 Fellow Guard rank or higher. Should be a link up here as well as down below if you want it. And as well, week wars add-ons also down below. Twitch, Discord, all for free for you guys who want those as well. So, yeah, let's get into it. All right, so Demo is the first thing we're going to hit on here, which has, once again, the majority of the changes. Destro, a couple, we'll hit on them briefly as well and look at them a little bit in combat, or in game. So there's a dev note about Demonology. Dev note, Caustic Presence is doing exceedingly well in single target situations, and even more so when paired with Demonic Tyrant in Grand Warlock's design. This reduction in damage is heavy, but Caustic Presence should retain its identity as a useful AoE-centric talent, while not becoming the correct answer in all situations, mostly meaning single target, even though it probably still is. Additionally, we want to keep the synergistic benefit of extending Vile Fiend's duration with Tyrant to capitalize on a stronger Caustic Presence. Lastly, we're increasing the throughput of Demonology's tier set to align with the throughput of other tier sets. Other tier sets are probably pretty crazy if it lines up with how Demo's tier set is right now, but nonetheless, we'll get to that. So, Caustic Presence, for those that don't know, it is the Fail Invocation ability that comes out of Vile Fiend and Soul Strike now. It is the fire damage that it pulses every second while it's active. It's been nerfed by 50%. It's a large nerf. It is likely still worth it in single target. It does like 2.5-ish% of my damage in a single target, which is pretty solid for a 1-point talent investment, but it's not 8% like it used to be. In AoE, it's about 3.5 to 4, so likely still better. Like Caustic Presence is, I want to clarify. Vile Fiend overall is like 7, roughly, give or take. It might even be a little higher. Caustic like 5.5. It does still indeed seem like Vile Fiend is better than Soul Strike and AoE. Even sort of like partially trying to include the Shard Gen clause on Soul Strike. But if you don't like Vile Fiend or whatever, they are closer now, within probably 1 to 2% of each other in sustained AoE. So that was nerfed by half. So I have Gul'dan, basically eyes of Gul'dan, but I have Gul'dan now benefits from haste and crit strike chance. So this is not Inquisitor's Gaze. It's not, well, it's down here. This is not Inquisitor's Gaze. What this is talking about, it is not this. What it is talking about is actually the eyes of Gul'dan from Nether Portal, right? The ones that spawn, like the 5 green orbs that spawn, those are eyes of Gul'dan. They now benefit from haste and crit. They are very bad. They're probably one of the worst summons you can get from the portal, if I remember right. Now, they have haste and crit modifiers, which is nice. On top of that, the Pit Lord now also benefits from haste and crit, and they once again buff the damage of Pit Lord by 30%. Now, my main fear here, I talked about it even when THG and I were talking to Max a few weeks ago, is that and I'm curious to see where it goes design-wise. Hopefully, they're smarter than I am and can figure it out, but I feel like we're going down the same path that we did in 10.2, even in 10 or 10.1, and even later on 10.0 when we were playing Portal and Pit Lord due to how strong they were. We might have, said, okay, Tyrant doesn't extend pets anymore from Portal. We might have said there's no damage increase in the pets from Tyrant anymore either. But they've also just baseline buffed Portal pets by a large margin multiple weeks in a row. I think last week as well they were buffed. They've also increased this thing, I think from 10 and 20 to 15 and 30 per rank 1 and 2. And they're buffing the Pit Lord again. And it feels like we're getting right back into the same profile of those huge peaks and valleys that we've been working against for a long time, by trying to get away from by removing Third Dog, nerfing Knowledge, adding Impact and Imperator and these things, and Cavitation and Heavy-Handed, adding all these things that smooth out damage. We're getting right back into the same peaks and valleys by buffing Portal and buffing Pit Lord and all this. And if their goal is for this row to be competitive or the best option in single target, you're going to have that same profile. And I don't work for Blizzard. I'm not a developer. This is what I was saying based on my own experience playing Demonology. If you want this row to remain the way that it was in 10.1, but not have, Tyrant synergies, it has to be buffed to a point where it's strong enough on its own without Tyrant extensions to be worth playing over Antorian and Expendables, Command, and Hatred. And at that point, you have the same peaks and valleys profile. The huge 400k, 500k burst, then tank damage down here, and you burst the moon again. It's just going to be the same peaks and valleys. So I'm concerned where it's going to go. I don't know in the end, but spoilers ahead, Pit Lord still sort of sucks. But once again, might get buffed. I actually went ahead and ran some sims, PTR sims, which are not totally up to date with like Vile Fiend changes, buffs, and nerfs, but they can both encapsulate what is essentially like the portal profile versus hatred profile. I will say that I am playing Clash Trinket and Iridius Fragment for both here. Sorry, Clash Trinket and Balefire Branch for both here. I think they're gonna nerf Clash Trinket, but until if they don't nerf it, you play it next patch. If they do, you're not going to play it. But I wanted to have it here. We're testing it, number one. And number two, it shows the peaks and valleys. And it's still probably a very good option next patch. Both builds are playing Ram Tyranny here. This build is the Nether Portal. Saxholes build, all that. This build here, I want to clarify. Let me actually backtrack there. One is playing Ram of Tyranny. This one is playing Grand Warlock's Design. Still playing Clash Trinket here. Which, to be fair, will skew this towards like bigger peaks and valleys. But at the same time, I wanted to show it with Clash Trinket just to show the difference between, all cooldowns being stacked with Clash Trinket and Ray of Tyranny versus Grand Warlocks being a flatter profile, but still playing Clash Trinket. Here's what I mean. So here's the Nether Portal Ray of Tyranny build. Looking at the damage profile, it is the same as retail pretty much. You shoot to, 300k DPS here. Keep in mind, this is not PI. We're not optimized, not fully, there's no like Vile Fiend buffs in here anything yet. And this build's not very good. This also doesn't have buffs in it from this week to Portal or to Pit Lord and stuff or Eyes, but the profile is here. Whether you're bursting to 500k like on retail or 300k here, you burst to 300k, then you drop to sub 70k tank damage. You burst to 200k with Tyrant here, a minute and a half, then drop to sub tank damage. You burst the same here, 300k, back to tank damage. And this happens basically on pull, a minute and a half later, roughly, give or take, about here, a minute and a half later, give or take again. Comparatively to the Grand Warlock's Design one, which also is playing Clash Trinket, keep in mind, and Balefire, which both favor the Portal build, right? Comparatively to that, look at this profile. There are peaks and valleys, yes. They're not as high or as low, but look at how often you have these valleys, right? So you burst like 250k here, roughly on pull. The burst, honestly, about the same for Grand Warlocks and Ram Tyranny. Ram Tyranny is under-tuned, obviously. But you're Tyranting here, about, well, minute later. You're not bursting to 300k, but you're hitting, 200k, 200k. And your valleys aren't 60k. They're 90k, 88k, 86k. So you're sustaining roughly 20k more in the lowest low you have. Not bursting as high, but you're just sustaining more overall. You're not, not bursting as high, but once again, this is still playing Balefire Branch and Iridius Fragment. If you played just, Clash, like a 2-minute Trinket and Pips, it'd be much flatter, even flatter than this. But if you're going to keep buffing Portal and Pit Lord, you're going to have the same problem with peaks and valleys and PI that we have right now. If that row becomes competitive, with it being Portal and Pit Lord based on all that, you're going to have the same profile we've been fighting against for the past few months, which, to be fair, has sort of changed, sort of hasn't. But I mean, like, this is what I was saying. I think, well, my own personal thoughts, I think it's fighting, a losing battle. It's like, I don't think Portal, if you're trying to get away from this profile, works. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know. Moving on from there, though. So, Doombrand. They've changed our tier bonus. They made it do less damage beyond 8 targets. Sort of odd. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. Let me put it on here. So, besides that, they've also changed a couple other things. So, Doombrand no longer deals damage when dispelled. The big thing here, Doombrand damage increased by 150. Doombrand is the actual 2-piece. Whenever it explodes, you apply it with Demon Bolt, all that. Pretty solid. It's still, like, not great in single target. Like 3% of your damage in single target. It's better than AoE, I guess. It's still sort of mediocre, but it's 2-piece. I don't know. The 4-piece. Doom Fiend's Doom Bolt Volley damage increased by 150. I thought it was just the AoE part, because that's a volley. The single target part's like a shadow damage. It doesn't say volley. But either way, they buff both. Now, the thing that wasn't mentioned here, they also removed the RPPM in this ability and made it like a deck of cards, I guess. I don't know exactly what it does. It procs a lot. I've had 5 Doom Guards active at once earlier on PTR and AoE. It procs a lot. It is vastly overtuned right now. You'll see when we get in the testing here in a minute. It'll likely be tuned. It will be tuned. I mentioned last week's video, you probably should buff the damage. I think around where these numbers are, actually, for it to be competitive. But they buff the damage and the proc rate, which is very cool, actually. I think in the long run, if you can keep the proc rate where it is now and tweak the damage around it, that's pretty cool. But at the same time, with this like new proc rate deck of cards thing or whatever, you end up getting like a lot of just like good procs back to back to back, and then like a bit of like a famine. Not much happening, and there's a lot of RNG in it, which is not what people enjoy. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they're just like doing it to see where damage is at and tweak it next week. But we are getting into the last bit of mythic testing. Like this is the last week of it. After that, there's no more. And you'll see in a minute here in combat, this bonus is pretty wild. So now the last thing here is actually immutable hatred. It has been changed. So they've basically overhauled immutable hatred to be, well, not hatred anymore. So when you consume a demonic core, an instant cast demon bolt, your primary Felguard carves your target, dealing physical damage. So I think this was done because of the turning off Fellstorm clause, or I guess issue that we had with Immutable Hatred. For those who don't know, you wanted to turn off the autocast on Fellstorm if you're playing Immutable Hatred in single target because it costs 60 energy. Legion Strike also costs 60 energy. And that used to be buffed by Immutable Hatred. So no Fellstorm meant more Legion Strikes, all that kind of stuff. I said last week that, hey, just remove the energy cost on Fellstorm. But in the end, he'd still Fellstorm, which means less damage with Legion Strike, all that. This change is probably okay, honestly. The one thing I don't love about this change is, like, they're making more abilities based on demonic cores. Our tier bonus, Doombrand, is, you know, you have to cast Demon Bolts, basically demonic core Demon Bolts, to apply Doombrand, which we have less demonic cores from the knowledge nerfs, losing third dog, losing bloodbound damage, losing other things. I forgot what they even do, but I'm sure we've lost more core somewhere else. At the same time, now Immutable Hatred is also based around demonic core cast or demon bolt cast, which once again, the core economy is much lower than it used to be. So like, I think they could possibly even go about just buffing demonic knowledge a bit again, which will also indirectly be a buff to hatred, which is likely, this change is likely a bit of a nerf from what I've seen, possibly running like Florida math, but it's very hard to test now because it's bugged. So there are two bugs currently with Immutable Hatred. It is still affecting Legion Strike. It is still doubling the damage to Legion Strike, even though it doesn't say on the ability here if you play the ability. You can test with it on, with it off, and you'll see it's double. Once again, Legion Strike is gone from Hatred, no longer buffs it. And number two, it's double dipping. It's per demonic core demon bolt cast, but sometimes I'm getting exactly twice the amount of Immutable Hatred hits compared to bolt cast. I don't know what it is. I can replicate it, but I don't know what's causing it. I thought it was a glyph. It's not a glyph. I don't know what it is at this point. Splat is having the same issue earlier. I don't know, but it's very buggy, so it's hard to tell if it's a buff or a nerf. I think it's likely a minor nerf, but it could just get buffed a bit. Also, once again, just buff core economy a little bit, which indirectly buffs Immutable Hatred. But yeah, we will see where it goes. So that's demo stuff. Destro, they buff Summon Infernal by 50% and Shadow Burn by 15. The Shadow Burn buff is just, it's the last clause on Madness that wasn't buffed like Aura buff wise when they removed Madness. They buffed Bolt by 15% when they, you know, removed Madness and gave us Chaosbringer. They buffed Rain of Fire last week, and they buffed Shadowburn this week for the final, like, you know, third ability. They're all basically the same as they were when we had Madness, which is nice. Summon Infernal damage increased by 50%. So Summon Infernal, this is not just the impact damage, Infernal Awakening. This is like the melee damage of Infernal. This is also the Infernal damage from Reign of Chaos, which is cool. Now, unfortunately, I've tested a build like this, which is just full-on big Infernal with both Grand Warlocks and Reign of Chaos. It's still pretty bad. This used to be, I think, like 15% per stack, not 6. They need to buff Infernal Brand more if they want to be competitive. Like, and I'd love to play Reign of Chaos again, but with 2-minute Infernal. Like, and in the end, like, if they buff this a lot, I wouldn't even mind a world where you're playing, like, you know, Grand Warlocks with double Infernal Brand, double Crashing Chaos, just like massive Infernal and stuff. But Reign of Chaos and Infernal Brand are just not very good right now. I had a streak of 0 procs during Reign of Chaos when I had my Infernal down, which is sick. My Capstone didn't even proc one time. So there's that. But in the end, even if you're just playing a build like this, which is the single target build, it's a decent buff to Immolation or to Infernal's baseline melee damage, which is fine. We'll take it. Bit of a buff. You know, why not? So with that being said, let's look at it. I guess mostly look at the demo stuff in combat. All right, so we are playing Demonology here. I am going to play the Nether Portal, Pit Lord build and everything. Once again, this build is not the best build right now. Hatred is bugged. It is still buffing Legion Strike, and it's bugged, like double dipping when it comes to demonic core cast. You're getting like 2 Hatred, basically damage events per core. Probably fix next week. I'm gonna play Reign of Tyranny Portal here to show you the Pit Lord, and also I'm gonna cycle for a little while here and show you the tier bonus damage. It is, if we get good procs, it's pretty wild. And even without them, it's still pretty decent. So we're going to open up here, heading into this. Not playing Clash Ranked, just these two, no big deal. We're going to open up here. I don't know if it's best to, like, just straight up, like, cycle the one-shard handy cooldowns anymore with Nether Portal. I don't think it is. I've just been doing, like, 3-shard hands, building a tyrant, just going from there, because you're not buffing your pit lord anymore, really. It's just like, you know, you're summoning demons, and that's that, and they don't really do much damage in the first place. But either way, we'll do this. So there's the first Doom Brand proc right there. He crit for 300k, crit for half 150k, 300k crit. You can see he's pretty wild already, and he might proc again right about here. Let's see, does he proc again? He does proc again. He's back, round 2, critting for 300k once again. He's pretty insane. So when I said Demo will likely be a little inflated in raid testing this week, you can probably see why. Let's see if we get a third Demon Guard here. Do we get one? I think he reprocced. I didn't even notice. He's just going to town for ages. There he goes again. All right, should have a fourth one coming up here in a second. Let's see. I should have cast Vile Fiend, but I don't really care. I'm just hitting buttons because Doom Guards didn't get one there. It's okay. We'll hit Vile Fiend. Why not? Fishing. Let's see if we can get one here. We do not, but that's okay, because if we go back to the damage meter here, he's still a whopping 21% of my damage. He's very strong. Pit Lord, it's actually a pretty big one from what I've seen. 700k. Most are like 500k, 600-ish, roughly. Not as much as retail right now. Keep in mind, this is 10.2. We're a little higher eye level-wise. He's getting there. But once again, Hatred Road just seems better, feels better, all that. I did a longer test here, like 4.5 minutes roughly. He was like, after second portal, like 3.5% of my damage roughly. A bit of that's skewed by Doom Bolt volleys, but in the end, like, it's still not as much damage as Pit Lord on retail by at least 300 to 400k. He's getting there, but Portal itself is still not as good anymore because no extensions and pets do less, but we're getting there. And I mean, Doom Brand, the 2-piece in single target, about 3%. I've been in combat for a little while here. But the big thing, Doom Bolt Volley, they're hitting for 300k. So it went from last week, Vile Fiend was the new tyrant, to now this week, Doom Fiend is the new tyrant. So stay tuned next week and to find out which pet is buffed considerably. Alright, so when it comes to Demonology and AoE, I'm playing the Guillotine build here, or playing Vile Fiend, all this stuff, Demonic Strength. It's probably the best build in AoE so far, right around there. Maybe you want this talent, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the big thing here are Doom Guards, our 4-piece. I'm going to try and do a normal rotation here for the most part. Might just start laughing at some point if we get 5 in a row, which is probably pretty likely here, but we will see where it goes. Wait for an imp to spawn here. We're going to Siphon, and then go from there. So Siphon, there we go. We're going to start casting this. Just going to a Bolt. It's fine. Got a Grimoire, got a Vile Fiend. Go over here for another Bolt. Cast our dogs. I'm going to hand. It's going to be a small Tyrant. Why not? Trinket Potion. Tyrant, sorry. Strength it up. Cast a third Doom Brand here. Didn't get a proc again. It's fine. Throw the Guillotine down. Oh, there's a Doom Guard. Watch damage climb here. Watch damage climb. Watch damage climb. Oh, there's another one there too. 2 Doom Guards. There we go. Let's implode. Why not? Oh, gosh. We're at 600k. Apply another Doom Brand. Can I get a third Doom Guard? I can. There he is. Can I get a 4th Doom Guard? Let's see. Maybe he'll spawn. I don't know. We're going to have a Doom Brand expiring in 5 here. Get ready to apply more. We're going to go here. We're going to apply a brand. We're going to apply a hand into a brand here. There's another one. We're going to apply a hand into a brand here. We're going to implode. There's that. We're going to apply another brand here. 2 more Doom Guards. There we go. We're going to go here. Apply a brand there. We're going to tab this here. I don't even know what I'm doing now. There's a Doom Guard. There's a Doom Guard. You get a Doom Guard. You get a Doom Guard. Cast these dogs. You get a Doom Guard. You get a Doom Guard. You get a Doom Guard. Everybody gets a Doom Guard. It's great. I love it. There's a million of them. And look at my damage breakdown. Doom Guards. Like I said, we are heading into the final week of Mythic testing for 10.2 Emergisil. Both Mythic Plus and Rating alike. This is the first day of Demo having its tier bonus working in AoE and single target. Buckle up. It's gonna it's gonna be a ride, man. It's doing a lot of damage. They're critting for 300k. They're obviously going to nerf it right now. It's very cool having the proc chance this high. Vile Fiend's like around here roughly. This is like the breakdown usually on average, a little higher, but honestly I just stopped paying attention here. Doom Brand is wild, or Doom Fiends are wild. Doom Brand's like doing okay damage. It's like here 6.4. We had a decent bit of procs there and stuff, but I mean, there's times you get more procs of Doom Volley, Doom Fiends. Times you get more or less, whatever. But I'm curious to see where this goes. It feels really good having a very high proc chance, but they need to find the middle ground of it being not too high proc rate wise, with like some bad luck protection built in there, but some like ICD on it probably at some point, but also still being relevant in AoE, while still proccing enough where it's like, you know, cool and exciting, but also tune the damage around it. And this is the last week of raid testing. Now, there is more time to tune, obviously. Probably going to be in PTR for another month or so, I'd assume, with the patch probably coming out after BlizzCon. I think it's almost guaranteed now. But Doom Bolt Cranks in Mythic Plus. It's even pretty good in a single target. It's going to skew things a crazy amount this week in raid testing, unless they hotfix it tomorrow, which they actually might do. But yeah, so at first it was Red Paladin and Shadow Priest and BM Hunter and something else. Then it was Rogue and Demon Hunter. Then it was LA Shaman. It's our chance to be bugged and do a lot of damage in raid testing and M+ this weekend. Oh, and to clarify, I guess we're not really bugged. We're just probably overtuned. So not bugged, but overtuned, but still going to get some tweaks, I'd assume, next week's build. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. Hopefully I answered the questions you had about 10.2 Demo buffs in this week's PTR build. Well, I guess Warlock buffs, but Demo buffs mostly in this week's PTR build. This is the final week of Mythic testing for Amirdrasil. Demo's going to be wild, but keep in mind it's going to be very, very skewed by a very, very overtuned tier bonus in single target and likely AoE, even though both bosses are single target-esque and one's pure patchwork this week. So testing might be a little skewed, but we will see where it goes. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, if you are interested in the 10.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet, is indeed now live on Patreon for the tier 3 Felgar rank or higher. If you'd like that, link up here as well as down below. And also thank you a million times to my patrons, like always, for all support on Patreon. I really appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys. And yeah, I just really appreciate all the support. If you like any weekly rewards or add-ons in the video, links to Twitch and Discord down below are for free for you guys. And yeah, I feel like this is a bit of a weird PTR cycle because it seems like every week there's been a class that has a new bug with this tier set or some new talent that was changed, and it's like just obliterated everybody else in raid testing. It was initially Shadow Priest and Ret Paladin and BM Hunter. 2 weeks, and then it was like Shadow Priest and something else. 2 weeks ago it was like Rogue and Demon Hunter. They're still pretty good, I think. Last week it was LA Shaman that was bugged. Week before that it was Rogue that was bugged, and now it's gonna be Demo Lock. But the scary part is testing is over this week, so we'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of tuning on Blizz's hands. I'm sure they can do it, but I'm curious to see where it all lands because it's going to be interesting. So, but I'll keep on the loop with videos and sims on stuff, yada yada. Yeah, if you like the video, I guess hit like and sub buttons below. It helps out a ton. Should be a handful of them coming out this week. State of Warlock video, all that stuff, and more raid testing. And yeah, that being said, I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.